I'm very pleased to be here on my magical thing with Aidan Wachter, animist, magician, witch, who works with the allied spirit ecologies of the blood and spirit ancestors. Aidan, it's lovely to have you here.
Thank you. It's lovely to be here.
Well, my friend, the time has come. Aidan, please may we see your magical thing?
Absolutely. So you don't really have to have a good view of it, but hopefully that shows up.
Got it?
It's a stone. I went and got this one just before the we talked. Um, People that kind of follow my work will be aware of this if they've read Weaving Fate, my book. But this is kind of a practice that, given what's going on in the world, or an object that's tied into a practice that I'm kind of my allies are continuously saying, talk about the Fever Stone some more. People should be aware of it. And basically, what this is I was having a very difficult time at one point, and uh, went into most of my spirit communications happen in trance states. And so I went into a trance state and went into the other world and went and visited kind of a crew of spirits that I call the sisters, and was like, hey, this is something that I think I could use help with. And they were kind of like, not our area, but let's take you to somebody else. And they took me to somebody else who's in that zone, who is also like, not our area, but we can hook you up. And so that being kind of took me through this mountain and dropped me in the kind of magical lap of a crew of Neanderthal hunters. And
Mm.
they gave me this practice. And so there's an extensive trance process behind this work, but not this piece of it. And this piece of it anybody can do. And what it is the Fever Stone is like an avatar or a touchstone or a proxy for what we would now talk about as ancestral trauma. But when I started talking to them, the language I was using was ancestral damage. Um, and the brothers were like, yeah, shit happens. And it sticks. And it sticks to the spirit and it can enter into the ancestral stream. And it can basically be a lingering kind of infection in the ancestral stream, and that most of us have a lot of this. And especially for those of us that did not grow up in cultures that kind of have uh, more magical healing or spiritual healing practices that are directed, uh, it can be very sticky. And so the Fever Stone, in its simplest form, is you go out and you find a rock, and you can take it off the street. You can take it out of your neighbor's landscaping. It does not matter. I happen to live next to a forest, so I just went out in the forest and found one. Um, and what you want to do is bring it home. First, ask it like, "Hey, will you help me process some shit?" And unless you get like a really big no, it's a yes. Occasionally, you'll have things actually say no. That's cool, but don't expect it to say yes. If it says no, listen to it. Bring it home, put it in a little bowl, cover it with salt for the night. The next morning, pull it out. And what I like to do is I mix warm water and salt to make it about like seawater. And I pour it over the stone, and I ask the stone to essentially, I name it as the fever stone, as the ailment of my ancestors. And as I wash it, I explain to it that what I'm doing is I'm washing it clean of these kind of old traumas that infect the ancestral line, um, to kind of provide ease and solace for both the dead, and then to hopefully mitigate kind of the downstream effects on us and future generations, because all this shit doesn't just affect us and our children, it affects everybody we interact with in the world. It sits all over all of us. Um, and then I rinse it off, and if I have the option, I like to put it in a window where it'll theoretically see the sun, though I live in the Pacific Northwest, which is a bit like a lot of the UK, and so much of the year you never see the sun. It's more the thought that counts. Um, and Do this a lot. Do it once a day for a few months and see if you notice The main thing that I notice is it for most folks it seems like there's like a general edge of tension that kind of falls off that most of us weren't aware that it's coming from this place. It's not usually massive.
Mm.
Sometimes it can be pretty crazy. Um, but and then the only other thing to know about these things is that it's like the anti-magical object. Like you don't
Mhm.
want it to accrue power because the power that it accrues is not good. And so I suggest getting rid of them anytime that they start becoming interesting. Like if you like, oh, I think I should take the fever stone out on a walk with me, like do that and then fucking throw it in a creek and find another one because they get nasty. And once you dump them out in the woods, they get, or out in the world again, they just get cleansed by nature and it falls away. But they do have a tendency for getting a little aggro. Um, so for me, I do this a lot because I'm processing a lot of very deep line ancestral stuff all the time. And so I just swap them out kind of on the solstices and equinoxes. Like no matter what, I get a new one at that point. But for folks that have got a lot of shit, sometimes it's fast. Like they're like, ooh, like 3 days in, it's nasty. It's like, yeah, get rid of it. It can be a thing. Um, and yeah, so there's a lot more behind that, but that's the biggest piece for most folks is if you can get that, if you can get a little bit of ease in there, it starts to change things. And I think that most magical practitioners will notice that aspect. If you do want to go deeper, there's a lot more to that. But that's very much kind of trance or astral work, and not everybody's into playing those games. So that I don't really have. Um, and then I did want to say, and Julian and I had talked before, since this is kind of a short form thing, this is for my book, Weaving Fate, that has all the extensive work in the trance side of it too. But I did recently, on I think the 20th of June, bumped a public post with all the information on the physical practice of washing the stone on my Patreon. So you can go get it there. You don't have to try and wing it off of what I just said if you'd like more information.
Aidan, thank you so much for introducing us to that magical technique, to that magical stone, and to that process which we can use for ancestral healing. That's really, really appreciated, my friend. Thank you so much for taking the time to do that.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Cheerio. Bye bye. Ciao.
Bye bye.